Hey, 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 welcome back to Goals and Greatness Podcast, your weekly dose of business banter, big ideas, epic fails, and the systems that make the dream work. With your favorite duo, Cath and Lou.
Double the expertise, double the fun. I'm Lou, your navigator on this wild ride of risk-taking and rule-breaking.
And I'm Cath, your go-to guru for all things startup. Together, we're unzipping the secrets of success and taking you behind the scenes of our crazy world.
Whether you're a CEO in the making or you've just scribbled your first business plan on a napkin, we're here to fuel that fire and help you unleash your greatness to achieve those big, bold goals.
So entrepreneurs, visionaries, and everyone in between, get ready to join the ride with Cath and Lou. Let's turn up the volume and unleash your greatness. We are back. And I'm excited. I'm really excited for today's topic. I know I've talked to a couple of you guys, and mindset stuff is something that's just so needed and powerful. And even though we all know it, and even people on their journeys, and whether you're an entrepreneur or whatever it is that you're doing, it's something that is just, it's the power tool to get wherever your head's at. So there's so much we wanted to unpack when it came to just positivity and limiting beliefs. And, today is fixed versus growth mindset. So Chengsta, Maria de Lourdes, Cheng, Grainy, if you can kick us off, for those who haven't heard this terminology maybe before, the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset.
Yeah, so just to get a little technical and give us the little dictionary definition of it. So in a fixed mindset, individuals believe that their abilities, intelligence, and talents are innate traits that cannot be significantly changed or developed. And then in a growth mindset, it's characterized by the belief that one's abilities and intelligence can be cultivated and developed through effort, perseverance, and learning. So it's basically in one, thinking that this is the way things are, it's not going to change. These are my abilities. Then the other one's like, no, those things can always be growing.
I was going to say, versus this is how it is how I am, versus someone who's like, I know that I can constantly keep evolving. And as human beings, we were made to evolve. And so we can't forget that, like I remember a mentor, I don't know, a couple decades ago, saying like, you're either green and growing or brown and dying. There's no in between, and as cheesy as that was, he was just like, as human beings, you're not made to stand still. If you're standing still, you're actually going backwards, because we're to grow and evolve. So this is just a powerhouse thing to know, understand, and lean into, really knowing that we have the ability to embrace challenges as opportunities for growth. We have the ability to overcome through dedication and resilience. We can seek out opportunities to learn and improve, and that it's part of the game. And I think that's so important versus sometimes, I don't know, I've seen people and they're afraid. I'm dealing with this with my son right now. It's so hard with my 4.5-year-old of like getting him to try something new. Cause if he's like not gonna, he doesn't even want to like go there, and it's a little version of like, just in a fixed mind, you're like, nope, this is what I'm good at. I can't do anything else, versus like, and this is a simple place where you can see it, but it's like, oh, I've never done that before, but like, how can I learn that? And like back to being like set to where you are, or being open to growth, right? And we're like trying to be like, you got to try new things. You can't learn, you can't grow, you can't expand your capacity and your skill sets and your knowledge and your abilities if you don't try new things, And he's like, nah, we're working through that. But you've been coaching people for a long time. You've worked in recruitment, you've worked in coaching, in the corporate space with independent sales reps, like all different fields. Where have you seen this be, either one, right? Where have you seen it be something that's been a limiting factor in someone's ability to produce or advance or move up? And
well, I mean, in the coaching space, especially when I was coaching individual sales representatives, I mean, all the time, the only thing stopping them from being successful was their limiting belief. And it was maybe, and number one thing I hear from people is that they don't have enough resources when coaching, be it leads, money, resources within their company. And, I always liked hearing the quote that it's not about your resources, but your resourcefulness. And, being resourceful is part of growth, right? Because it's saying, okay, I may not have this, but what extension of me, or where can I find the things that are going to help me grow? As we were reading about this topic, I think about my little brother. when we were growing up, my there's three of us, my older brother, myself, and my younger brother. My older brother was the kind that would just like go to school and get A's without even trying. You know, auditory learner. He just had to breathe the air of the classroom and he would inherit all the knowledge. And so he did very well in school, just like on his own. For me, I did very well in certain topics where I didn't have to study at all. But when it came to stuff like geometry and English, like I actually wasn't very good. I did better in other areas like, you know,
Mhm.
algebra, or I even did well in like history class and stuff like that. My youngest brother, he was the one, and we all did well in school, but like he's the one who always had more B's and maybe a C on his report card and had to actually try to do well. And when it came to the three of us, going to college, he actually graduated before my brother and I, and was like the most applied, and has like a kick-ass job right now doing something that I don't even know how to describe in the world of security and accounting. All I know is that he makes really good money, but it's just to show that like some people are born with certain talents and certain abilities to do things that other people can't, um and or can't now. And then other people, they do need to work on it a little bit, and when they do, they can actually outshine other people. So you know, when I back on that story, I think one thing that allowed him to achieve this success was that he let his goals lead him, and he didn't let his abilities help like stray him off the path of success.
Mhm.
So you know, I think part of developing a growth mindset is understanding that you may not know how you're going to achieve something, how you're going to get better, but keeping
Mhm.
it at the forefront, as using it as your compass, you're already going to make better decisions going in that direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've seen that, so much. I even seeing some of our college kids, you're talking about like with school or academics. And there's some people, I remember talking to my brother, I'm like, there's some people that are just they're just naturally born like a genius and all this stuff, and so you just outwork them, you know?
Mhm.
And so don't have the mindset of like, "Oh, well, this is just how I am." It's like you just study harder, you work harder, and I watched him do that, and get his university for the fire academy. He's a top, he's top of the chain and in the fire station now, and also has his own business with his wife, and it's just so cool to see that. And it was a shift from like, well, this is all I don't know how to do that or whatever, to going, how do I do it? And really leaning in, which
Mhm.
we talk about. But I think about, academic difficulties, like, are we using them as opportunities for learning and growing? And for those where, there were certain, like you said, topics for you that were a little bit more difficult when you're seeking challenges, are you seeking support when needed, knowing that there is room for you to be great at this? Or are you stuck with, I'm just not good at this, right? And
Yeah, and
so
I just oh,
Mhm.
sorry, no, I just talked about this yesterday with a group of young entrepreneurs, where I was telling them that, you know, you want to mitigate your weaknesses and capitalize on your strengths. Understand, like, self-awareness is so huge when you're trying to grow, because it's not about harping on the things that you're not good at, but looking at them and saying, okay, what are my weaknesses? And during non-important times, delegate those weaknesses. And then during important times, delegate it to somebody who's better than you. And during non-important times, learning, studying how to get better at it. But as long as you're working at it, right, you'll eventually. And I always tell people, like, when I first started, even in the direct sales job, I wasn't just like poof really good at sales. It actually took me much longer than most of the people that are considered top people in our company, or like for my summer or my campaign. You know, I started okay, and then like I just didn't really understand it for a very long time, and it took just like listening to a lot of audios, watching a lot of people do it, to finally, you know, gain confidence to
Mhm.
be good at it, you know?
Yeah, and it's because you look it back and you can even go like scientists or people who have achieved, and done all these great things. And someone even like Thomas Edison, right? I talk about him all the time when I'm doing coaching and going through, like, as we're going through the resilience and persistence and talking about this. And it's like this guy had like over 2,000. I think I once what it was like 2,500 failures before he created the light bulb, right? Like he could have easily very early on said, I'm just not good at this, right? And well, we wouldn't be talking right now. We'd be in the dark, but he was just like, nope, like I want to figure this out. I want to figure this out. I want to figure this out. And that's a growth mindset, right? And so maybe they didn't have that labeled back then, right? But it's that, through dedication, through learning, through resilience, like you're able to get to where you want to go, right? And you see this in, career, like with people that we've worked with, people that I coach, hire, and just seeing people that have achieved real success in their careers by embracing challenges, by seeking out opportunities for growth, by continuously developing their skill sets, their expertise, listening to some of the best in the industry and approach things and wanting to get better and recognizing that these setbacks and failures, again, are opportunities for learning and improvement rather than reasons for giving up. And unfortunately, I see too much in our world. People just give up, and seem like that's a fixed mindset, like, why can't you lean in and go, how do I get better at this? How do I become one of the best at this? I mean, shit, when I started in sales, my average order was like $140. My closing was like 40%, and that was something where I was challenged by mentors and I sought out guidance. And by the end, 3 months later, my average order was $800 and my closing percentage was like 87%, and that didn't just happen. And I wasn't naturally like when I started, there was someone who had like $1,000 average order and they had like a 90% closing and like, they're kicking my butt. And I'm like, well, they're good at this. I'm not, right? Like fixed mindset, y'all, versus like, okay, how do I, right? So that's how you see it like in careers. And then obviously we've talked a lot in the personal development world of like how embracing challenges, seeking feedback, focusing on a continuous improvement can really lead to greater fulfillment, resilience, and success in different aspects of life. And so I think that's so important because I've seen so many people over the last 23, this will be 23 summers that I've been watching people grow or fall on their face, in sales and in business and coaching and people that are dedicated to their personal growth and development, and to cultivate those similar mindsets and adopting that to your life, just the impact that that can have.
Yeah, and just to go back to criticism and feedback for a second, I think that is a very necessary thing for growth, but also the hardest pill to swallow for people. I feel like most people don't take criticism well, and I'm not going to sit here and say that I'm even perfect at receiving it still to this day, but I'm definitely a lot better than when I first started receiving criticism. And it's hard because usually when we're being given criticism, it's just something that's really to us, bless you, whether it's performance or maybe something that we worked on, even a talk that you might have given or anything. And people take it so personal. I know I did for a long time, and it wasn't until I read that book, The Four Agreements, where he talked, there's the whole entire section on not taking things personal and how it'll elevate you to just like accept things they come, and also understand that not everybody in the world, like, I know that the world is a messed up place right now, but I think it's still important to preserve like that faith in humanity, that not everybody's coming out to get you, and there are a lot of people in the world who do want you to get better. And most of the time, the criticism, now, people's delivery may not always be the best, but always try and seek the best in every situation and try and read through and say, like, okay, this is what this person's saying. I may not like the way that they delivered this, but where's the diamond in all of this dust here? What are the things that are going to make me better? And try and look at things through a different lens. But yeah, I'm not sure. Have you always taken criticism well? Because I definitely haven't always.
Absolutely not. I think that as a, a high achiever and someone who always takes pride in like, being the best, I think that was early on whole other topic in terms of conditioning and like trying to prove something and all these things. I took a lot of pride. And so when someone's like, oh, this could be I'm like, what do you mean? Like, and that was in my younger years. And I think it was more in my early, like in college years where I started being more open to that. And there was a coach specifically that I had in 2006, and he had challenged me to talk to my workers and ask them like what were my strengths and what were my weaknesses. And I remember the first time I did that, It's like the hardest thing in the world, because I want to defend everything and learning to just like own that, and that became a practice of mine later on, which you experienced years later in terms of like, stop, start, continue, right? And being able to support each other in growth and shifting that from I'm not trying to make you feel bad or tell you all your things, but it's just being open to growth, having that growth and knowing like, okay, I'm really good at this. Like here are areas of opportunity and, here are things that where I can improve or whatever. So, or things that I need to stop doing that's really like not working or offending people or whatever the heck it might be, right? Whatever space that was happening in. But I definitely, that is something that evolved in my mid to late 20s, and I felt like I could really own in my 30s, but prior to that, no way.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I think back on those stop, start, continue. They were to get through and be told, um, just places where maybe you could improve. And I know back then I would just look at it as like failures, but it really is just places where you can improve. That's what you should think of when anybody's giving you feedback is like, okay, how can I improve? And part of having a growth mindset, aside from just trying to accept feedback or to find those diamonds in the dust, is just having an open mind as well, an open mind to what you possibly can achieve, in the future. Like, in our notes we have the power yet, like I haven't mastered that skill yet, or I'm not good at this yet. And just knowing that
Language.
just because it's not right now doesn't mean that it's forever. And yeah, the self-talk about it.
Yeah, that's so good, and I think that this is something that'll help you continue evolving in all areas of life. I mean, it's something that I've even adopted. We were talking yesterday, my accountability group about some things we're working on, or whether it was a commercial building or things we were buying, and being able to continue moving forward, saving towards these things, and the importance of language, right? Because of what we're putting out there and what we're attracting. And I said, it's easy to, and she was saying like how her husband was like, well, we can't afford that right now. We can't afford that right now because we're, want to do this big investment or this big thing, right? And she's like, oh, it bothers me when he says that, and I said, I caught myself doing that, these past years, is that we're like working towards things, and it was like changing, shifting that narrative to go to add that yet of like, or we're not going to do this right now, because we're doing this, or like,
Hmm.
I don't know if that's the smartest thing yet, but we're going to go, and like versions of that, right? But it was just like, instead of saying we can't afford that, I was like, no, like I can do something smarter with our money right now. Let's later, and we was kind of chatting about that. She's like, I have to have him stop saying that. She's like, he's like attracting like poverty into our lives. It was just funny, but just that power of, yeah, of like, oh, I'm not good at that yet. It's something that, again, with the kids, we're working on. And I know we're going to have another episode, next week, just like deep diving into more of like with children and working with them and coach. It's whole beast, and it's changing as hell. And I'd love to share the challenges, the wins, all of that, that we've been experiencing, because this has been a new world for us the last, 5 years. Uh,
Hmm.
in motherhood. I mean, we've watched it as we've mentored teens and young professionals and adults, for so long, but seeing that now, and with kids, like young kids, and seeing like, how do we do this, right? Because when you to raise kids, at least for me, with that growth mindset, and we got to think about, okay, what are the things we've been talking about, right? And are we reframing challenges as like areas for growth? Are we people to want to expand beyond their comfort zone and develop new skills and abilities? You just mentioned the power of yet, right? Like, are we embracing the power of yet? And that mindset shift that acknowledges that the potential growth and development, right? And so you're like, hey, I can't do this yet, but I'm excited to learn. Like all of a sudden, you just shifted from a fix, I can't do that, to a growth. I can't do that yet, right? And but you're creating a sense of possibility and optimism to learn about, your ability to learn and improve over time. And that's really powerful. You mentioned, seeking feedback and constructive criticism. Most people don't seek it. And when you're really in growth, you actually seek it. You're like, I want to know, how people are feeling, where they're at and how I can improve and how I can be a better parent, or how I can be a better leader, or how I can be a better whatever partner, in this, and to have that opportunity or seeing it as an opportunity to gain insights, to identify areas of improvement, to really refine your skills and your abilities, you know? And then, you know, I would say the last thing in terms of mind, in terms of really developing a growth mindset is that focusing on that continuous improvement, you know? What is it? It's can I attitude or something like that we were like, I remember, I think it was Matt King or someone. It was like constant and never ending improvement, right? Like it was like develop a
Oh, yeah, yeah.
can I attitude, or I don't know. I think it was like I remember
That's an
hearing,
old one.
yeah, and it was that constant and never-ending improvement, right? But there's so much power in that. And again, I first heard that, you know, in sales, but adopting that mindset of continuous improvement, you know, focusing on the process of learning and development rather than fixed outcomes or achievements. And, you know, that persistence, the resilience, the commitment to lifelong learning is something that I've noticed in the most successful people that I've been around, and multi billionaires who are just hungry to learn. I mean, a girlfriend of mine was just over at Richard Branson's island. I just forgot the name of it, at Necker Island. And she was over at Necker Island, and she's like, I'm like, so, and I heard this from a couple other friends who had the opportunity last year to go to Necker. They said, you know, the thing that impressed me, I said, what did you take most, right? Being there with Richard, you know, like hanging out. I said, what did you take? They said, you know, the thing, and this was a consistent thing. I talked to like 5 different people who've been over there that I know very well. And they said the number one thing that I was just wowed by is like, it's like he wants to learn from, he wants to know, oh, how do you do that? Like he's like so curious. And you're like, really? Like here's this billionaire like done all these things, and he's here like so interested, so curious, asking all these questions. And they're like, that's why he's so damn successful. Like he's
Hmm.
always wanting to learn. He's always wanting to know what he doesn't know. He's like, what do I not know? Oh my gosh, tell me about this. I don't know this. Right. And I like it's this childlike curiosity that Mr. Branson has, or Sir Branson has. And it's just, you know, they're like, I think that that's been attributed to why he is so successful. And, you know, we see that with people we know in our circles. But I thought it was really powerful, you know, for them to say that of like a multi-billionaire, that, you know, he's just like so like wanting to learn things and us on that path, you know. So I would challenge, if you're trying to tap into your ultimate greatness, you know, are you wanting to continue learning? Do you know that there are always things you can learn from anyone you meet, right? Anywhere, anyone, any age, and there are lessons to be had. I think it's a really beautiful way to live.
Yeah, knowledge is power, but knowledge is wealth.
Oh yeah,
Hmm.
pretty awesome.
Anyway, any other final thoughts on that? That was your final thought.
Yeah, we'll edit this part, but no, I just again, just encouraging growth mindset and providing like practical strategies for yourself or people that you coach, you know, or get to lead. You're really able to help people step up, or yourself approach challenges, setbacks, opportunities with more optimism, you know, and come to growing from them. You're gonna live a happier life, you know, because when things
Hmm.
are like, oh, I don't know why this happened, or like, oh, why is this going on to me, or you know, or like this isn't how it should be, or blah blah blah, you know, and like just being stuck there, but going, huh, I wonder why that came into my life, or I wonder why I needed to go through this, and what can I learn from this? You're gonna experience more joy, you know, in your life,
Hmm.
and you're just the vibrations that you're putting into the universe are just in such a different place when you come from that space. So I guess those would be my last thoughts there.
Awesome. Cool. Well, I feel like that was very insightful and that was great. Are you ready for a question?
I'm ready for a question.
Go to Starbucks drink.
Chai tea latte with soy.
Iced or hot?
Always extra hot, except middle of the summer, light ice.
That was good. Right now,
What's
I was
yours?
well, I was turned on to last year to a brown sugar shaken espresso iced with oat milk. I
Holy
thought
moly. It's a
I
lot of
tried that and I was like,
work.
this is great, but it is too sweet for me. But I love forever matcha latte, hot, cold.
I don't
I
think I've ever tried one. I feel like I need
Oh,
to.
okay. Get a iced green tea matcha latte with coconut milk, and you're gonna fall in love because you like tea and it
I
has
do.
that green tea flavor, but then with the coconut milk, that's the best one.
All right. I'm going to try it
So
out.
good.
Try it out. If anyone else wants to buy me Starbucks chai tea latte. Soy. You can't get regular milk because you won't see me most of the day.
If you ever want to surprise Kathy, give her something with dairy in the morning and then invite her out at night.
Not a good situation, y'all. Not just you just get to know me a little bit better, but awesome. Well, again, if you guys haven't checked it out, we have our event coming up next month. We are so excited for June 12th. Do not miss it. We have a powerhouse lineup, and we're just so excited to pour into y'all and help us have the strongest finish to any year that you have had. So we will see you guys then.
Have a good one.
Bye.